Well, I don't really know much about him, but my 2 teenage kids are very excited. You know, they love him. They have the CD diskettes and the video games and the dungarees with his name on the pocket.
It's about to make a change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. Yeah, it's about to make a change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got some love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. We started from the bottom, talking about the roots. Every time I'm in the booth, I gotta shoot the truth.
The Boondocks Podcast. We're reviewing Season 2, Episode 5, The Story of Thugnificent. Episode synopsis: a superstar rap group moves in across the street and records a diss track about Granddad after a neighborly disagreement escalates into a full-blown rap beef. How y'all living?
I had to cover my mouth because I don't know who had a motorcycle in their background, but I was like,
Me, yeah. I'm so wow. Well, you can hear that. That's freaking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's crazy that you can hear that.
I've told you before. I have the weirdest, all the stuff
And it's
there.
so
I'm
far.
like,
It
I
was
don't know
on
if
the
it's
street
me.
outside of our complex. Like
Yeah.
it was going the opposite way down. Wow.
I have great hearing, but yet I can't actually understand what you say half the time.
Hey.
I don't mean you in particular. I mean people.
No, that's the way it goes usually.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So hello.
Hi.
Extended
Hi.
fam. Everybody having a good week thus far?
Oh my God, no.
No.
It's fine. I'm just being a brat. Everyone's testing me this week. That's all.
You know, it's funny that people do that after everybody was so holy and celebrating Easter. Easter. My mom calls and she goes, "What did you guys have for dinner?" I said, "We had hamburgers, and now we're getting ready to watch Fast and Furious 4 and 5, and we're gonna have popcorn." And I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, don't get me started. But I wasn't. Yeah,
I always forget that my mom actually as a lapsed Catholic does kind of think Easter is, that's one of the big ones for her. And she was like, "Well, can we do a video chat or something?" Because we couldn't go to church together. So
yeah.
But yeah, I was like, it's Sunday. What do you mean? Well, it's Easter. I'm like, okay. And I don't have kids that are the kid age for Easter. And I don't have I don't do church.
Yeah.
Some candy?
Right.
I think the only Easter buckets my boys have gotten has been from grandma's. And that's because that's, that's what they do.
Yeah, it is.
My boys didn't ask for one. They didn't ask what we were doing. They did say Happy Easter that morning of. I was like, oh yeah, Happy Easter. It was funny to me because seeing people all of a sudden going to church, and I'm like, I don't see you post any other pictures any other Sunday. Christmas, I definitely didn't see you there. New Year's Day, it's just funny to me how people go and spend so much money, and it's for an afternoon of your kids running around getting those same outfits just streaked with grass stains because they're searching for
Yep.
some candy and some eggs.
But it's all about the fancy hats.
Now, see, I grew up with Hood Easter.
Oh, hold on.
Rabbits don't have eggs. Rabbits have litters. And they're painted eggs. They came from a bunny rabbit. Bunny rabbits don't even hatch eggs.
Wait, but hard-boiled eggs. And I mean, we understand that the weather's changing, so it's not just always cold. So you have a whole bunch of just cooked eggs sitting just in the grass and other parts through church, and then tell your babies, go at it, go get them. And there's always the ones with the dollars in it, which is, what's the point of that? What are we teaching our kids then? Only this one was good enough to find the $5.
And as a kid, I could never get my designs on my eggs to be as perfect as the picture used to make it.
Yeah.
Thing. That was so annoying. It was just ran everywhere. It was annoying.
I did notice that you put Dean, you put something on our, on our list here to discuss when a current event.
Yeah.
That's very sad.
Yeah, there's a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, let's get with the simple one first. The Discord thing.
okay.
Well, that's not sad, but yeah.
Do that.
So let's get that out of the way. So our Discord, which it will be listed in the show notes. It's also out on our website, et cetera, et cetera. I've merged because Boondocks Podcast and How Are You Now all fall under my main Podscure network. And so basically what I've done is I've put everything in Discord under that. Everything's broken out by podcast, but I'd like to cross-pollinate some of our fandoms and maybe get somebody who's on, listen to How Are You Now or Podscure over to here, vice versa. And also because now, as I found out, I've lost 2 episodes of Podscure. Somehow one of them is the one that we recorded with MJ. And yeah, the other one was
some kind of way about that.
Yeah, I well, I don't know. Pandemic. I'll blame it on that. But
yes.
Anyway, but it gives us another chance to hang out together, and I don't mind that at all. In fact, I look forward to it.
But anyway, if you are on one of our Discords, you are now on all of them because they have combined into one.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Yes.
Can confirm.
Can confirm.
All right. Now back to the show.
All right.
Hubby thought he was tripping, by the way. Like, you guys before Luke, he really thought, he was like, how in the fuck did we get into, just because I was looking for the episode last night? Like, now we're into his podcast. He was really tripping. Then he goes, oh wait, they're all in one now. So yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
We can thank you guys for that confusion.
Yeah, because there's another one. There's another podcast called Breaking Mayberry, and it's these 2 guys who go back and rewatched Andy Griffith's show, and with a lens from today. so it's funny. So we talked and so that was another one. I've lost it. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I was even on that one because I remember talking to them about that.
So yeah. Anyway,
see. It's not just you.
No,
he loses stuff with me.
No, because they were on How Are You Now? That's what you remember them. So.
Okay, but we were talking about their show.
We must have made him mad around the same time or something. He was like, delete.
I mean, 14 years. I'm bound to have gotten him mad a few times.
Click. All right. On with the sad news.
All right. So yeah, as of the 6th, which is today that we're recording this, DMX has been in a coma for a few days now, where there are a lot of people who are hopeful that he'll pull through, but honestly, from everything that I've seen and read, they know that he's probably not, and they're just trying to get to a point when family is ready for that. For like the stuff that they've because you don't say brain dead in vegetative state and expect someone to wake up. That doesn't happen.
I'm just keeping hope. Just like I thought for years that Tupac was, he really lived the Machiavelli life. And I was like, nope, you guys are going to be fooled. He's coming back. Now, the more rational side of me was like, girl, stop it. But it was just something that you held on to because I know for me, that was huge. Like, huge loss. Hubby and I were just talking about it. What's so sad is that he had such demons based upon his lack of relationship with his parents and the abusive relationship he had with his mother, that he just, even though he had this art and this form and this talent, I don't want to say had, but has this, this just powerful talent about him. And he's a poet. That shows you that there's still so much, that one cannot deal with, but have an outlet to be able to deal with it, but just can't. Like, it makes
mental
me
health
very
can affect
sad.
Everybody.
It makes me really sad.
When you mix into the kind of life that puts you in contact with things that could lead down very, dangerous roads, because this all started because he relapsed and he OD'd and then had a heart attack. And we know that he's been struggling with drug use for years, and this, and I hate. See, it's really fucking me up a little bit too, because it's pretty much the exact same thing that happened to my friend a couple of weeks ago. It's all like right now, especially mental health is just so important, and it doesn't matter what financial things you have.
Yeah,
It doesn't
your
matter.
walk of life, anything.
Yeah,
Your
it can affect
your
everybody.
monetary situation, your privilege, lack thereof, your fame,
Mhm.
lack thereof. I
I
mean,
just told my boss today that I need to go on part-time or I need to quit for my mental health. And
I'm
basically,
glad that you're making that decision. I'm glad that you're making
it took
that
me a long
decision.
time to
Yeah.
get to that decision. Now I just have to figure out what it's going to look like. But she's being super supportive and basically has said whatever I need, she's going to make work. So,
That's
but
good.
that's, that's not everybody is surrounded by people who can support them the way that my people can support me right now.
Yeah.
And, addiction is a
just-
disease.
Yeah.
And mental health instability on top of trauma, on top of having that substance abuse in your past. A lot of people that's the
And
final chapter
he
for
looks
them.
like he was eating good. He's put on some weight and stuff. And I mean, like his verses, I don't know if you guys saw that or if I caught a glimpse of it, but he did a verses against Snoop. And I mean, it was just so good to see him. And he remembered his words and just, and then he did what he's talented for. And what I foresaw was always going to be part of his life was getting into ministry or motivational speaking. Because if you're a fan, you've heard him pray. And those prayers are, I don't care what you believe in or what you don't believe in, but they're super inspirational and powerful. And you know that man believes every single word that comes out of his mouth. So I know for me, I think I'm kind of holding on to hope that he still has a purpose. And so maybe, you never know, maybe. But Lindsay, I'm curious because you did grow up back east where, he was probably, he was famous there before he was actually famous to the rest of us.
Mhm.
Were you a fan? What do you feel about this unfortunate situation?
I mean, I was pretty young when DMX was big, but I mean, he's just DMX. He's like a, rap legend, but I was never particularly a strong fan. You know what I mean? Like he was just kind of always there.
Yeah, I didn't become a big fan until getting with hubby because he loves DMX. So, and I think as an adult, just listening to more of his music, and now that I have, my 12-year-old that's literally 70, where he we should switch. He totally should have grown up in the 90s. He loves DMX, and he goes, "Mom, do you hear him? Like he just, you hear him?" And he talks like that. You hear him? And I'm like, "I hear him, son. I got you. Don't have to yell at me. I got you." But he just such a. I feel like his energy was so good, and he was I feel like a good person. And let me tell you, I will never forget that scene in Belly. I think this is probably like my 5th time talking about it. But man, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you must Google that. But yeah, I have to say, I know that he has an addiction. I just hate that I feel like they're doing the same thing to him that they do to every person of color, mainly men, when it's a hard situation. They focus on the negative, and that's what they're, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they're making his life. They did it to Michael Jackson. They did it to Prince.
I think DMX managed to mostly stay out of the scandal closet, but the way that any media is going to treat, and this again, it goes back to like the stigmatizing of mental health, like especially in Black men, like there is any weakness is seen as a bad thing, and so it's that toxic masculinity. It's just going to fuck everything up, and for a lot of people, probably DMX included, that you don't talk about your pain, you don't talk about what's happening or why you're feeling the way you are or how you're feeling or admitting that something is wrong or whatever, self-medication, like it's, and when, especially when someone who's a big name does something that is not, how do I say that? Something, negative. We'll just go with that word right now. Anyone who kind of has that name, who does something negative to themselves, it's like a chance for people in paparazzi.
The others, the kind of
the people who
compare
make
it, if it were
the media
Snoop,
for us to consume.
yeah, if it was Snoop, I think the reaction would be different because Snoop is crossed over. So
Yeah,
yes, they
Snoop
will
has
talk about
changed his
the
whole
early years. Yeah, we call him
reputation.
auntie. We call him auntie because he is like somebody's auntie nowadays. I'm
I
telling
love
you.
it.
But yeah, they would talk about, his Murder Was the Case days and, when he first came out. But then it would be such a highlight talking about, him doing the roast and working with Martha Stewart and being in Corona commercials and doing this. And so that I feel like that's the difference because DMX, like you said, was never. I think he had crossover because he's been in a few movies, so he had some crossover appeal, but to an audience that's still hip hop,
Yeah.
Whereas, like a Snoop, for example, it would probably be reported on differently. But
Yeah.
that's just all, hey, miracles happen. So 2021 has been shit tea. Okay. Like we're not grounded, but damn, between people passing because of maybe COVID or other, other things, residual, I think, of last year. And then you have shootings and just.
Well, I think a big issue that's happening right now with a lot of people is that we've spent, it's unfortunately, it's pandemic fatigue again. Like it's especially people, I can almost guarantee you in these last quote unquote last couple of months, we're all hoping that the vaccine will get ahead of whatever variants are gonna, but so like keeping that as an optimistic like point of view, people are tired, and a lot of people who didn't start out maybe on the best footing when the pandemic started are losing what little bit they have left, even though we can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm not going to specifically talk about anyone in particular, but I know several people who've really had a desperately difficult time in the last month. Multiple people I know going into the hospital for their mental health. And it's not just because so many people have been alone for a year, but got people who lost their jobs. I have a friend who lost her job, back when all of this started, and has only managed to get part-time work for the last 3 months. And like, that's really affected her entire life. Yeah. And like, there's a lot of trauma out there right now. And there's a lot of people who don't have the skills to deal with it. And every time the news is like, it still could get worse if we're not careful, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna get worse because nobody's paying attention to this.
Well, you see how everybody's just jumping right back out there to life as if COVID was never happening. Did you guys see the Phillies game that had 40,000?
No, it was Texans. It was not Texans.
But yeah, because it was.
Remember I showed you the picture in Texas, the baseball field that was
Rangers?
full.
Was it the Rangers? Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, they act like we were in 2019 for real. Like, and they're like, well, we have masks.
100% open.
Nope. They had a still shot. And I was like, babe, let's count how many people we can within this group. And then let's count how many have on masks. And Yep. Well, somebody that's non-melanated, please explain it to me. Why do you guys
you came from there.
It seem like you guys are just omnipotent, like certain, like walking in the middle of the street. Like my car is heavier than you. Why do you act like you're like the boy in the bubble?
Texas.
Why?
So you got a state whose motto is "Don't mess with Texas,"
which was a litter campaign.
Yes, it was back from the 80s. But that's what it was. It was about don't make a mess of Texas.
I kid.
Yeah, so that's why that originally came from. It wasn't about being tough or anything. It was just dope. It was a litter campaign back in the 80s.
Like literally have heard people out of Texas like saying those words on the news.
I mean, you have the governor also who's completely opened everything up. So that's where that started. I mean, about them having that, and then also trying to pass laws saying that businesses can't deny service, which I think is hilarious, and that the Republicans are the ones who are stay out of my business.
Right. But then they do that. I mean, you guys have heard about the double mutant like variation now that's like from India that's in California. And I don't know if you guys paid attention, but we definitely watched the 2 weeks of spring break in Miami like it was a reality show. We were like, let's go see what's on YouTube today. I mean, and they were out there, you know, and I mean, I've never seen so much just, you know, impromptu twerking in the middle of the street ever in my life. And people were just, no
Right.
masks, barely any clothes. Like I'm just, and I don't understand. Everybody stay at home. Like we
just a little bit longer.
I mean, I think that if everybody just stayed their asses at home by summer, the whole country, I think, would have been able to open up. Like we would have had a summer.
Last year, if the U.S. had done what just about every other country did, which was lock down until we could get this shit under control, I mean, we would still be dealing with shit now, but we would be just starting to open up now as vaccines hit 25% of the country has had their first shot or something like that at this point. And, you know, Biden has said this week that every American will be eligible no matter where they live by April 19th, I think it was.
Yeah, they're opening it up. I mean,
because he wants more people to get vaccinated.
Yeah,
Dean is actually getting his first one tomorrow, which makes me really happy because I am now fully vaccinated.
You're not getting the new.
I don't know which one they're giving. I think it's probably the Pfizer one.
Okay, good.
Because I'm taking 2 of them.
The Johnson, good. Because the Johnson & Johnson is like the 2021 freaking Tuskegee freaking project.
No. I know lots of people who've gotten the Johnson & Johnson. Nothing has happened to them. And it's just a different kind of vaccine.
With a B plus efficacy.
It has a different chip inside of it, and instead of seeing Bill Gates,
now you're sounding like your mother,
Zuckerberg.
Our friend told us that her uncle told her, "You are no longer family. You are now a mutant human." Or something, and you'll be dead within 2 years. And she didn't take the Johnson & Johnson one, but of course, when I say it, I'm saying it tongue in cheek. I am joking. I mean, I do think that it's funny though that they were pushing at one point in time before that huge 15,000, dosage just went bad, or there was something wrong with it. They were definitely pushing it towards the lower income neighborhoods and certain. That's where I say, it was.
I get it. I totally get that.
Kind of
what they're in their lovely white minds. I think what they were thinking was the one shot will be easier in the lower income neighborhoods because then they can just get it in and out. They don't have to come back, or we don't have to worry about them coming back.
Making it seem like they were.
I know.
They weren't thinking, but
hey, it's the whole reason why so many teachers across the country have gotten the Johnson & Johnson because. Particularly, they can get the teachers back in class faster with that one. With me, so doing the Pfizer, I got
That's
it.
What me and hubby did. Yeah,
I got my first shot the day after I became eligible, and I just got my second shot last week, and I've still got another week before I'm fully quote unquote covered under them. Whereas with Johnson & Johnson, you get it 3 weeks later, you've got the same immunity response as I would 2 weeks after my second shot.
Yeah, so I know just for me, I didn't want my parents getting it. Both of them got their shots recently, and I was like, which ones did you guys get? As long as they said they had 2, I was like, okay, good. I wouldn't. SNL, I know I pretty much refer to them every week, but they're just so good. But they did a clip this week or a skit this week, and it was a doctor who was trying to, COVID doctor, who was trying to convince his family. So his cousin, his aunt, his other male cousin and his uncle to get the COVID shot. I mean, he offered them $20,000 and they were like, nah. It was just so funny because it was just a broader conversation on how Black people are not getting it. But one of the cousins answered why they wouldn't. And she said, Tuskegee, no, she said, syphilis. And he's like, oh, come on. You're telling me that you can't trust white people. He goes, why? And then she rung the bell again and she's like, syphilis. It was just so funny. I'm not going to get the shot. And this is why I don't trust. So,
I get it. Yeah.
Because like I said, if I turn into one, I told my friend, he told me we get the first headshot on him when he turned into a zombie. And when we got ours, I was like, we're going to be zombies together. So whoever turns first. But yeah, I mean,
I kind of like at first was really hesitant and, for a while there but it was more because of who was quote unquote in charge. Like once that changed and like I felt a lot more comfortable believing what I was hearing after the regime change.
yeah, no, for real.
So, but yeah, I totally get all of that. I need for me, because of my autoimmune issues and all the other shit that I fucking deal with all the time. I needed to believe that I would be able to like have a life again. And so the idea of the vaccine being able to let me out of the house was way more important than, because if I get COVID, I'll probably die. So if I get the vaccine and it kills me, it probably would have anyway.
Yeah.
Like I hate to say it that way, but really.
I'm sure my neurologist would have been like in January or when they started, it would have been like, get your acid line right away. If I had gone to him and said something, but I felt back then I'm healthy enough now. Well, I didn't want to take it from people that really, that were in a bad way,
We've got friends right now who are,
Yeah. So it's just, it's kind of crazy. But let me just pose a question to you guys really quick and we can move on. Do you think that the push for vaccination will stop once they reach that number? Like, let's say, what is it, 100 million? And it's still only 1.4%, African Americans or Black people that have been vaccinated. Like, do you think at that time it'll be like, oh, well, they made the choice? Or do you think there'll continuously be I think
it'll be continuous until they reach the point of what they consider to be potential herd immunity. So it wouldn't matter if no Black people got it, but everybody else in the country got it. Everybody else would basically keep the Black people safe. So I hate to say it that way, but if it's only 1%, but like we get to like 75% herd immunity, they're going to stop. They're not going to spend money on it anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then it'll pretty much come down to like individual doctors talking their people into going and do it and that sort of thing.
So playing devil's advocate, not saying that all Black people think like that, but that's even a broader, a bigger reason for Black people to be like, well, forget it because you don't care whether I get it or not. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just thinking from, what somebody would say. If
I think that was a little different than what I was saying, though.
No. I wasn't saying what I wasn't.
I know. I know
what you were saying. I was just saying that is playing devil's advocate and being that person that wants to give another reason as to why maybe so many African Americans, Black people say that they don't want to get it is because in the long run, they feel like, once again, we're ones that aren't really cared about, like our health or what happens to us. So it was just kind of my thought process.
I think the fact that they are targeting specific communities of color because they are usually the ones who are left out. Like there are targeted efforts all across the US in predominantly Black areas like Atlanta and Minneapolis and like Seattle, even in some parts of Seattle, where they really focus all of their efforts on making sure that the majority of these neighborhoods or these towns are at least given the option. And if everybody is given the option and they're still saying no, there's nothing anybody else can do about it. So at that point, I think that's where it's like, okay, we're doing our best. If you're still choosing not to do it, even though we've given you all of the evidence that we can possibly do to show you that it is okay, then it becomes not my problem because I've done everything that I can do,
Yeah. And I get that. My whole thing is I'm saying that to individuals that already feel like we're not taken care of or they're not a focus, that gives them even more reason to continue to feel like that. That's just a message that it would appear as. I'm just saying to somebody that already feels that way. So I'm just putting myself in that person's shoes or in that mindset, that thought process. So it was just
by that point
that popped up.
No, I mean it's a valid question. The only issue I really would have with it is by that point it's going to be 6 or 8 months from now. Like they're not going to like stop doing it in May. they're going to keep doing it at least into the summer because even if every person who is eligible makes an appointment right now, they're not going to get everybody vaccinated until into summer. So like if we get to a point where we are reaching herd immunity and there's still people who are hesitant, it's like like I said, we've given you, a year almost of
and there's other things
information, and you've seen people who've had it now for like, when did they start? They started doing testing before Trump left. So that was in like December, January. And really the only things that have come up so far are increased blood clots in the AstraZeneca one. But the rate of blood clots is not even to the level of birth control pills in women. It's just because it's affecting men too, that suddenly it's actually, we should stop doing this drug. Just in case. Yeah. So like even that, it's not even causing the kind of side effects that we see in stuff that has been legal for 60 years.
Well, that's true. Snaps of that.
There's so many things that there's a lot of fear mongering going around, which is going to affect the African American community because a lot of them do not believe what they hear on like the news and stuff like that. So I've got quite a few friends that I'm like, you can't get your fucking news from Facebook and expect that to be the whole story. But that really is kind of how a lot of people have gotten lately. I had a woman who cut my hair and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go to you to get my hair cut because you're refusing to get the vaccine and I can't put myself at risk for that. And I don't want to take the chance of getting you sick because I could still get it and pass it to you.
Yeah.
So
I used to write about Facebook because part of that SNL skit, the older lady, the aunt, she said something about, I can't get it. I'm dipped in the blood of Jesus. And he was like, where did you find that? Where'd you hear that? He's like, Facebook, and said it was like the straightest, like because it was Facebook and her friends are sharing it. That's what, that's gospel. And that is so many people's mentality. But this one topic can go on forever. Things, but yes.
Yeah.
You just gave us the wrap.
I'm going to skip even the other thing that's on our news, but that was actually a really good conversation. I don't know. Do you want to add anything to that, Lindsay, before we move on?
Nah.
I love you.
Dean, you should get some wrap it up music like we're at the awards.
Well, he's like, you can't see it, but off screen, he's like doing the.
I just thought we just did it right in front of the camera. I was like, no, he didn't. Just no.
Oh, he does that all the time. You just can see it this time. I mean, that is why I, sometimes I'm like, okay, and then we're going to talk about, because he's over here going, look at the time. You've been chatting for 40 minutes.
Yeah. When it's organic, it's organic. It happens. Yeah. Yes, but this episode, now we can get to some.
All right, the introduction of Thugnificent. So this episode starts off with the Rags to Bitches documentary in Terra Belle, Georgia, which is just amazing. More naked old man penis running across the screen. I feel like this show has definitely exposed me to more old man dick than ever before in my life.
Yeah, and I guess I'd rather see it in cartoon form than anything else. So hey, it's their thing. Like one episode a season, I guess they want you to see a pixelated grandpa's penis. So
it wasn't even pixelated.
True.
So in that documentary, Thugnificent is talking about all of the terrible things that are happening in this slum that he lives in, and talks about a murder happened right over there, and they shot him, they stabbed him, they punched him, and then they took a shit on him. Like, what's a guy got to do to make you so mad that you take a shit on him? And I'm like, they murdered him, so
the shit is the least of it. If you have to really, weighing apple or putting apples to oranges, I think that the murder is worse.
A little bit.
Yeah. I do want to say really quickly, the opening was my quote, one of my original quotes. That white lady is so white and represents, I think, really so many parents. Because we know that hip hop is the biggest genre because of
with the CD diskettes.
Yes, white kids in the suburbs. So it's fun. Like, I wonder how many. I don't think everybody says diskettes now, but they probably say they're Spotify, they're streaming or something. But just how she described it was perfect and hilarious. So I definitely want to shout out that that beginning intro there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Diskettes. And the jeans where her name's on the pockets or on them. What did she say?
The dungarees.
Dungarees,
The,
yes.
the name on the pocket.
Like, where does she live? Pleasantville? Or no, why would she say dungarees? Yeah.
Because she's innocent of things in the world. I don't know.
Ah, yeah. Only in Dynamite-esque. Huh?
So the next scene is Woodcrest all gathered around and talking about, oh, he's moving here. Oh, what's happening? And we've got our first clip of Thugnificent moving into the neighborhood.
With all these cheese and white bitches and lemonade and bagels and shit. But you know how we do. We bring the hood with us right here. Now let's make it rain.
Now, I know you had something you wanted to say about this, but like for me, I'm like the first scene where he's like, I don't want to be in the hood anymore. I've made my way up and now I'm gonna move into this rich place and I'm gonna bring all of that with me to this.
So I mean, I like if when I first watched it, and and it dawned on me exactly what he said. I'm like, is he saying that Black people don't have cheese and bagels and lemonade? Or is it, like, it was just, it's so much to unravel just in those 3-4 sentences there, but that's like the perfect kind of intro, because it's when the situation happens, you either are going to be real niggerish and turn up, or you're going to try to assimilate. I mean, it's true. Or you're going to try to assimilate, and
you said it.
Yeah, I said it.
Dean's laughing. I can say it. You can say it.
It's hey. I've heard it way too much growing up. But yeah, so it's like he decided to go the other way,
Yeah, and expecting everybody to be really excited about it too. Like, yeah. So like while all this is happening, Granddad and Tom and Ruckus are just like, no, this is not cool. And Riley is like super excited and he wants to go over and talk to them. And Granddad just is not into it and rebuffs Thugnificent, who is like, hey, there's another Black guy here. Let me talk to you. And Granddad's just like, nah.
That's right, y'all. Thugnificent bringing the hood to this very street. The ghetto was here, y'all.
Ain't this a picture? Who in the hell left the gate open?
'Cause I love it. What up, old niggas? You got some words of welcome for all this thugnificence? Come on over here. Do it big, man. Thug out with the homie.
Nappy-headed hoes.
He's so blasphemous because he quotes a gospel line. Who the hell left the gate open? Because I can't tell you how many Saturdays I cleaned to that record. And my mom bought it from BET. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But then turns around and says nappy-headed hose and all that other stuff. Like,
right? Which was the thing that, who is the sports guy?
Don Imus.
Don Imus, yes. He called the women's basketball team. Yeah, that was that was actually a good kind of beginning, because we see something that I find really interesting, how they kind of made a big part of the story into kind of a white flight narrative, but reversed. It's the Black people that are in the neighborhood who are acting like the shocked white neighbors as these people coming in. And so Thugnificent redoes the mansion with like dollar sign hedge thingies and like fountains with his effigy on it all over, and just tacky as shit, gold everywhere. And the neighborhood is not happy about it.
It's like somebody threw $1 million into the monkey cage at the zoo. It breaks my heart to watch the degradation of this decent place.
Well, we can't live next to their kind. We have kids.
I ain't gonna stand for it. We were here first.
Right.
What are we gonna do?
Well, I'd sell my house if I thought it was still worth anything.
That last one especially, I would sell my house if it was still worth anything. As if this, okay. what is it? Negrization.
Yes.
No, you're not allowed to say it. Okay.
Don't
As if
do
that
it.
somehow brought down the property value of everything around it. As if like this quote unquote black culture that's being injected into this white culture is so bad that it makes everything around it bad, which is a recurring theme in the Boondocks, with like Grandpa's restaurant and, you know, that sort of thing. So I found it really funny that you would expect Ruckus to say that shit. That was 100% Ruckus. Tom is, well, it's just so funny where he's like, you know, we can't live next to them. You know, we've got children, and you know, he's using that. Oh my God, there's something so wrong with them that my kids are going to be exposed, and then something's going to happen. And then
Tom's
Granddad,
a follower. So it's like he felt
he's absolutely
vindicated
assimilated, yeah,
and validated, like, oh, everybody else is feeling the way that I'm feeling, and it's black people this time, even though you throw Ruckus in there. But it was like, okay, then I can say it. It really reminds me of Lindsay last week referring to Chris Rock, and you know, black people love black people, but black people don't like niggas, and it's exactly what is happening. Exactly. That man, whatever he does, rap, whatever else you guys see his lifestyle as, he has more money than probably anybody that lives in that damn neighborhood. You know, which is the case. But yeah, that's just what kind of kept playing this, you know, sharing these clips is exactly what, you know, Lindsay pointed out last week.
Yeah, totally. And I think that that's going to be, I don't know about all the rest of the episodes, but that seems to be the theme of this season is black people treating other black people as less than.
Othering ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know,
school days wise, you know, the light skin against the dark skins, the
exactly
against the, like, we're still doing it. Yeah. And how detrimental that is, because then you have outside races who have something else to pick on and say, well, you guys do this to each other to excuse their poor behavior. Yeah. I
think the one of the things that Grandpa does that really just kind of sums all of it up for me, it's like this is still the beginning when he's just moving there, and he was like, why don't you invite him over for dinner? And Granddad's idea of what might happen is just like the most racist, stereotypical like idea of these black hoodlums coming into his house and like saying terrible things and being rude, and that right there is just, nope, that's enough. He doesn't need to know them or like them or anything, because he has his preconceived notion of who they are based on his idea of them. And that's such a our generation's adult, like my parents, you know, that's such a thing from like that generation.
I will say this. My mother-in-law, if she says Oriental one more time when she is referring to somebody that is, and we go, that's a rug. That is not their ethnicity. And she said shit, but she like, because she's 70 plus, she can. And that's just the way that it is. And it's like, but that doesn't make it right. You know? So that, I think it definitely, you know, that's the narrative behind it. It's like, not only is Grandpa being like judgmental because of his age and like set in their ways and they think they're so right, but then also you're adding on to it that he thinks he's a better
black representation
than them. Yeah.
So, all right. So later that evening, Thugnificent throws a big party at his house, and Riley shows up to introduce himself. Thugnificent asks him if the mean old man is who he lives with.
Yeah, that's my granddad. Don't mind him. He a hater. Look, I don't want to be dick fried and nothing, you know. I just want to say that I like your music. And, you know, this is my turf over here, and I'm holding it down for all the young G's. So, you know, holla at your man if you need anything. I ain't on your nuts, though.
Very much so, you are. You are. Definitely. You're like sub, you know, like you're sub on his nuts. You know, just like you didn't latch on all the way, but you have a hold.
Oh, he will. I think like Riley's whole arc in this episode is, oh, I don't want to get all up on his nuts to the end. By the end of the episode, he's like, can I get you something to drink? Can I get you a water? How you doing, my bud? Let me unscrew the cap for you so you don't have to strain yourself.
Oh.
Like, Jesus, fuck Riley.
Thirsty much.
I'll bet. So one of the things that I thought was kind of hilarious was after Huey came in and to find Riley and bring him home, and they were like, this place is totally for kids, and we'll do the quote in a second, but he's like, we got the Xbox, we got the PlayStation, we got the, what's it called? The Incredible Hulk, which is alcohol.
Oh yeah,
like we looked it up.
Yeah, that's right.
It's hypnotic and Hennessy.
Yes, man, that just made my stomach turn. Oh God, how many times I had that?
Like everything I read about that says that it tastes like Kool-Aid, so I can totally understand why it could be seen as a kid's drink. But in my head, I'm going, I would have gotten a hangover at 21 drinking that shit. Like,
yes, of course, you would have, and I'm gonna tell you, you definitely do. Because it's the sugar aspect. That's what it is. But, everybody wants to say that they drank it, E40 rapped about it and blah, blah, blah. I'm too smart for that shit now. So,
yeah.
But yeah. He was offended by the fact that, he was saying that his house wasn't kid friendly.
Yeah.
Which was super hilarious.
Because he probably thinks of himself as like a role model a little bit, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But so the next clip, there was one that really stuck out to me because I was that kid that was kind of congratulated for being bookish when I was a kid. So I want to.
Yo, nigga, your brother told us how you be all into reading and shit. Hey, that's some real good shit, my nigga, for real. Congratulations, nigga.
Did you just congratulate me for reading?
Word. Oh, yeah, man. It's good shit, homie. Word, you know what I mean? That reading shit, you know what I mean? It's hard, son. Word, you know what I mean? Word, you know what I mean? Especially when them books be, you know what I mean? Real thick and heavy, like, you know what I mean? Word, you know what I mean?
I knew people like that.
It's a compliment from somebody who
only
knows how to say not what I mean. So you should have just took it as a compliment. That is a big deal.
Well, yeah, for all of them, that was a big deal. And that was actually kind of the reason why I wanted to play it was I had a student last year, and one of the things that he tried to pull with me was like, well, I want to be a rapper. I don't need to read. And I'm literally like, now how am I going to flip this on him? And totally played it like, rappers have to have this huge vocabulary. And so the more you read, the more words you'll know and the more words you'll have to prepare you when you want to, rap. And it worked a little bit. But
hubby always says, you guys want to keep your money, right? So you want to know math. Like you want to know if you're being ripped off. Like that's, you're going to be a basketball player. Great. So what's going to happen when that $30 million contract is gone because you had a shady account, but you don't know how to multiply 12.
What happens if you blow out your knee your first year?
Yep. That's why my son, he wants to play for UCLA. He's so heartbroken over March Madness, let me tell you. And I told him, don't you dare fix your mouth at 18, 19, 20. You better be walking across the stage with that diploma telling me I'm now going into the draft. Don't you dare think about leaving before you have a degree. Like don't. So yeah, that
it's
super
good
important.
Advice.
Yeah, no, we focus has to be on different things, not the immediate, I'm not
totally.
Hardball.
Dean's youngest is now 18, and he's always kind of dreamed of playing college football, and maybe potentially one day being in the draft and going to play professionally. But he's also always had it in his mind that he wants to get a degree, and there's a job that he wants to do. Like football is a thing he'd really love to do, but he knows that might not be so realistic. So even though he's still working toward that goal, he's committed to going to college and getting a degree in engineering. And it's or teacher, apparently. Last year, that was something that has started popping up in the last year.
Oh,
I know.
Look at your influence.
I know.
I don't know.
Middle school math, though. That's not my influence, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I feel like we are chuckling at this scene, though. But like on some real shit, young people, most do not read. People my age, honestly, in their 30s, most do not read.
Yeah.
People don't do this shit. They're not into this shit. They don't have, they feel they don't have time for it. Kids in the hood, unless you kind of got a library or like shit at school you can really get into.
Yeah.
Yep,
They just don't.
No,
That's the
you're
reality.
absolutely right.
The only way
You made me
to
just feel like an asshole because today in hubby's class, he had people reading. Do you know how many times he had to tell the kids intercollegiate? They could not read or pronounce. So the fact that you just brought that up, Lindsay, is like, oh shit, you're right. Because it is, most times he reads, I go, why don't you make them read? He goes, we'll be here much longer than what we need to. He's like, hey. So that is true.
I think part of that is where teachers see the investment. I hate to say it this way, but like when you are in the inner city, a lot of those teachers are not. They have to teach to the test. They have, if those kids don't pass that test, the school loses funding, teachers lose jobs, there's overcrowding. Like it's just this vicious cycle that goes over and over again. The biggest difference between somebody who is a reader and someone who isn't is, did your family read at home? Did you have the availability to have books around you when you were a little kid? And if the answer is no, you are most likely not a reader in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
You know, I was really lucky. My mom was a huge reader. Both of my parents were huge readers. And we would go to the library once a week and we would come out with like stacks of books and we would just voraciously read them all the time. And that was perfect for my little introverted autistic brain that just wanted to, disappear into a book. And I didn't understand that other kids didn't have parents that pushed it like that made it so just a part of normal life until I got older.
You're absolutely right. I remember my dad coming into my room during the summer and he threw the Malcolm X book at me. And it was like probably about a month before the movie came out. And he goes, "You're grounded until that book is done." And I'm like, what? I didn't do anything. But, I was a reader. I mean, I read all Jackie Collins books and B.C. Andrews and like shit that I probably shouldn't have. But I was also,
that was our generation.
And I was also reading it like a junior, like 11th grade level, probably in 5th, 6th grade.
Yep.
But that does come from a mother who reads. She still to this day, I think, reads 2 books a week or something. So
right up until my dad died, he was still reading as much as his limited vision was letting him do. Like that was a big thing for him. He wanted large print books because he could see the large print books with his magnifying glass.
Yeah. Dang, Lindsay, why are you making me feel like a... No, I'm kidding.
Well, I don't mean
it's true, though.
I'm
kidding.
I'm kidding.
It is both. It's like that double-edged sword of a joke. It's funny because these rappers are like, oh, it's such a big deal that this kid reads. And yeah, keep reading. Reading is awesome because they never got any kind of encouragement like that when they were kids, probably.
Yeah.
So it's that. Yeah.
Well, what's awesome is now we have rappers like Kendrick Lamar who wins Nobel Peace Prize. You know what I'm saying? That like every verse that literature prizes. It everything that he writes. I was listening to a feature he did on the Lil Wayne song called Mona Lisa today. Like his verse is nothing but pure fucking poetry. Like pure. So, and he comes from a hard neighborhood that, probably doesn't have the best education or didn't, but so that, that we have some pluses, then we have a whole bunch of mumble rappers. And then that goes and just completely tears that down. But yeah.
There are definitely there's every we had Tupac, who was first and foremost a poet. And I feel like that's Kendrick Lamar for this generation. Absolutely. There's not a lot in different generations of music have different people that really kind of stand out for different reasons. And when we're thinking let's go with kind of an activism standpoint, in a lot of Black music, always since the beginning of, recorded music, there's always been underlying social justice messages and stuff. But the stuff that would get recognized was folk music. Bob Dylan or, and they were seen as these great poets for their generation. Woody Guthrie. Yeah. Peter, Paul and Mary.
Yeah.
I could probably,
Yeah.
I went to church camp because I was a church kid, and there were a lot of folk songs that my church community retooled. So I knew a lot of that stuff. I still have a lot of those songs in my brain for no good reason other than we sang them around a campfire when I was like
Did you listen
10.
to Amy Grant?
Oh yeah. Yep. Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith. What's her name? The one who married Garth Brooks. Like they were both married to other people, and she was a Christian singer.
Not Trisha Yearwood.
No, but something like that. Something like that.
Right? Oh yeah.
But anyway, so yeah. Oh yeah. I grew up with all that stuff in, young life in the 90s before it got creepy and weird and rapey in some cases. And
very much, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was that whole thing just reminds me so much, that scene itself reminds me so much of kids that I work with, because, that same kid who was like, I don't need to read because I'm a rapper, also is inspired by Malcolm X and has read, like, I actually gave him a couple of graphic novels about Malcolm X's life, and he read the kid version of the autobiography. He's not he's not quite advanced yet to read the autobiography yet. He's 6th grade this year. So,
there was a kid. Oh, you mean like the ones when they first are introducing you and.
Oh yeah, there's new ones. There are graphic novels about Malcolm X's life that are geared toward like a mid-range reader.
Okay.
I'll have to find the names. They're in my classroom that I haven't been in a year. But yeah, so like there's so many. There's a lot of ways to inspire kids to be readers. But it really does take your home life to make it important. And if your home life does not make it important, you'll never develop the joy from it,
Yeah.
So, and that's unfortunate, but it is very, very true.
I'm taking my boys to the library tomorrow. I'm just kidding. We have so many books here, it's ridiculous. And they end up on the floor underneath their bed or some shit like that. So yeah.
Same.
Oh boys, Lord.
All right. So, so the party. We know that Thugnificent is having this party. So now we're looking at it from Granddad's point of view. He's pissed off because the beat is too loud and it's keeping him awake, that bass. Cars are getting parked on Granddad's yard, though he doesn't notice it until the morning. When he wakes up and he kicks the drunk guy off his porch and basically sees that all of the cars have ruined his yard. Like, he gets pissed. And in, like we were saying earlier, he never gave them a chance. So he doesn't go over there and say, hey, that party you had last night, there's a huge mess and they wrecked my yard. And can we do something about that? Instead, he goes, 911? Yes, I'll wait. Which goes back to that, like, he is the white person in this episode who is calling 911 on his neighbors having a party. And even when, like, the council is talking about the complaint, let's see, I wrote it down, I think. Somewhere. People walking around where they don't want them to be, eating outside when they think they should be inside at a table. Anybody have memories of a couple years ago where it was like selling water on the sidewalk, having a barbecue, like
the dawn of Karen?
Yeah. Or I think that would be the rise of Karen, because the dawn has been happening for a while. This is like full on, like. So I find it really funny that like, I don't remember there being such ridiculous entitlement everywhere 15 years ago. And I know that there was, but like, when it comes to how Granddad is essentially mimicking what a lot of white society is doing now, I just find that really interesting that the connection was drawn back then, before we even got to the point. Like, they mentioned YouTube in this episode, and YouTube is still pretty new when this episode is done, but now YouTube is this huge thing that literally is like we've got YouTube TV, for fuck's sake. Like, that was not a thing 15 years ago. 15 years, it was just weird cat videos and like music videos from like MTV that were recorded on, somebody recorded it off the TV or something. Like,
yeah. Chocolate Rain and Friday and shit like that.
Oh, chocolate rain. Chocolate rain.
So bad. So bad. Oh my god.
Oh, kind of missed that actually. Couldn't find that.
Like he still does stuff based off of that. I love watching like Where Are They Nows and shit, and like he's still doing shit. And it looks
Good
it's
on
very
him.
weird looking at him. Like he's a grown ass man. But it's just yeah. So
Yes.
yes. Yep. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so when Thugnificent gets the complaint, he writes a diss track against Granddad, and makes a
They
video.
immediately have beef.
F Granddad, which leads to so many things. Like Granddad doesn't understand why would they do that to me? And then, he's going to call his old friend XYZ to help him create his own diss track to go against them. And that's where the YouTube comes in, because Granddad put his on YouTube. MTV runs the story about F Granddad causing kids to beat up old people, which has a pretty big mirror to stuff that's happening right now. Again, because you've got people saying the China flu, the Kung flu, and Asian American Pacific Islanders getting beat up all over the country, especially the elderly, simply for being elderly and Asian looking. And then in this one, it wasn't about the race, but every one of the quote unquote granddads that got beat up was wearing the same sweater and basically had the same kind of look, even though they were all of different races. And I thought that
Aaron
was
Magruder, where is your crystal ball? Like, that's freaking crazy. I want to say really quickly, we were at the range the other day, and there was a couple who came in they were of Asian Pacific Islander, descent. And she's like, I haven't shot a gun in years, but I feel it necessary now. And she was asking us all kind of questions about where we got ours, how long does it take, like where's the best place for her to go and get training. And it took about 5 minutes for it to dawn on me why, she was there, because she was getting help by one of the instructors and he was walking her through it. And I was like, wow, like that, it's that. You know what I'm saying? Like people are gearing up and they feel like they have to arm themselves.
A lot of Black people have been feeling like that for a while. And unfortunately, a lot of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are, especially in the last 6 months or so, feeling like they need to figure out how to protect themselves. So I'm not surprised about that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I really need to learn how to shoot.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, so after kids are getting caught beating up old people, the AARP decides that they're gonna, boycott the music label that put out the song, and so Thugnificent responds.
Man, Thugnificent ain't tell nobody to beat up no old people.
I don't even really see how someone could even get something like that out of that song.
Thugnificent is talking about what he's going through. So maybe a young person listening won't have to go through the same shit. You smell me?
Yo, people always want to. You know what I mean?
Nope, I don't. Not at all.
So this one for me was kind of a big one, because it's so very typical of a big name star doing something kind of stupid and then refusing to take responsibility for its influence on other people and their actions. Like, for example, Jackass. When Jackass came out and people were being jackasses everywhere, they were like, oh, we're not responsible for all these people doing this stupid shit. We're just doing it ourselves. And I mean, all they did was put a disclaimer on the front saying, don't do this at home. But they weren't going to say, well, yeah, just because so-and-so watched our show where we rode a bike over a landmine off a cliff doesn't mean that, we were telling them to do that. And, so I look at it kind of in that same light where they're like, whatever, we talked about beating up this old guy because he was old and, crotchety, but you don't need to go out and beat up other old people who are old and crotchety. This is just us. This is just what's happening to us.
Mm-hmm. I took it to be about the way people generalize as well, which we do it
Mhm.
Like every time we say like white people, I know some white people are like, not me, but it's like it's like Thugnificent is doing this whole F granddad thing. So granddad is interpreted as old people in general. So then this hatred gets going. It is something like my own shit that I'm trying to work on is to stop talking in generalizations. Even things like I know, and a lot of people say to me like, oh, girl, stop. Because like I say, I'm not going to say white people anymore. I'm going to say Karens or Carls or, I'm going to be very specific about who and what I'm talking about, Republicans. And they're like, oh, but, when you say white people, we know who you're talking about and white people know who you're talking about. I don't know.
No.
Right.
I think that the people who get offended over it are offended because they think that it might actually reflect them. Even like it makes them like, oh God, no, it's not me. So, oh no, it's not me. You're not talking about me. It's the same thing with the Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. The people who actually understand what Black Lives Matter means are not offended by us saying Black Lives Matter. So yeah, I think if you think that I'm talking about you when I say white people, maybe I'm talking about you.
Right. Right. Yep.
All right. Yeah. So let's see. After that, Huey, I love Huey comes out and has that prepared speech, which is the most eloquent thing in the entire episode, and basically, saying. The two sides are sitting down and we're trying to work out a truce and, that sort of thing. And we find out that Riley forged Granddad's signature. So Thugnificent thought that, everything was cool and he had the party thinking that Granddad knew about it and was okay with it. But really, Granddad had no idea. And even though they both cannot apologize to each other or, take back anything. They agree that for the good of old people everywhere, they are going to basically call a truce, and they hug in front of the cameras. And even though they've basically, call each other names under their breath while they're doing it. And that's essentially the end of the show, the end of the episode.
It's always bitches.
It's all, always bitches. So, is there anything that you guys saw in the episode that you wanted to talk about that we didn't already get into? Like, I need to go back and look at all my stuff.
I wanted to bring up a couple of trivia bits. We had the Don Imus thing. So when Granddad watched the video, he said that they just got that old guy. They got that old guy from Friday in there to look like me. And then when Granddad's recording his diss track, he talks to Big Tank, who is the show's music advisor. Who's the Boondocks music advisor. So that he's an actual real person. So I thought that was the music supervisor for the show. So I thought that was kind of funny. Derek Big Tank Thornton.
And the voices, it was Snoop. And
you got Snoop as Mactastic, Buster Rhymes as Flo Nominal.
You're right, babe.
Yep.
And we didn't. So in the last time we had Thugnificent, who was it?
No, well, this is the first time with Thugnificent.
This is the first one.
Yeah, the last time was the one that was in the hospital that got shot.
Delicious.
Delicious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was most deaf. This was Carl Jones voiced Thugnificent, who is the actually one of the producers of the show. He was a showrunner, and he's actually going to be running the animated Good Times TV show.
Did you guys hear about that?
Oh yeah. I think that's really cool.
I want to be excited about it. Like it's Magruder too, right?
No, it's Norman Lear and
Norman Lear
and Seth MacFarlane are executive producing. So they're basically they're funding it and making it so that Carl is running it. So it's because I watched the interview with Seth MacFarlane and he's like, I'm really interested to see what Carl's going to do with it because I think it's going to be fantastic. So it's like they're kind of hands off with it. It seems like Carl's running the show.
I like it. All right.
Yeah, and it's updated, right? They're updating it. It's like
I would assume so. I would assume so.
Read about it. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard much about it aside from that they're going to be making it.
That's really cool. Hey, if we're going to reboot stuff, let's do it and do it where it's empowering and do it right.
Yeah. Well, maybe maybe we should talk about that show when it comes out too.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll some good times. Damn.
All right. So if nobody has anything else they want to add, I think it's time.
I think we're good. I am. What about you, Miss Lindsay?
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
Welcome to Stupid White People Questions.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
That's the best thing ever.
Welcome. Yeah. As you know, I've been hanging out on the TikToks a lot. And there's this one gal that I follow, Carnival Jedi, who gets questions all the time about these types of things. And she got asked this question, and she responded to it. And I thought this was be a very good question for you guys. What is inherently wrong with blackface? If I wanted to dress up as a black hero of mine, why would the skin painting part suddenly make me a racist?
Why do you have to change your skin color to portray someone famous?
Just be them.
Just be them. Yeah. If you are not creative enough to make your outfit look like the character, you should go back and do more to your outfit. In painting your face, the only thing you're doing is saying that the skin color is somehow inherent to who this character is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fucking true unless you're talking about Black Panther or Black Lightning. And in those cases, you definitely won't do blackface because you're a fucking idiot if you do.
There are also other superheroes that are not black that I mean, these are iconic black superheroes.
If I wanted to dress up like Wonder Woman and go to a con, I am not going to plaster myself in white person makeup because the outfit that I wear is going to signal that I am Wonder Woman. And it does not matter what skin color I am because my skin color is not a costume.
Yeah.
I just had an idea. I had a thought. Can I cosplay as White Uncle Ruckus?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
So basically, you would just be a white man.
Because he went to heaven. Remember, we went to heaven with Ronald Reagan, and he was white.
Yes. Oh my God.
Sorry, that just popped in my head.
That's not bad. So how are you going to do that outfit though? It's going to be the eye, yeah.
You gotta have the eye,
the outfit. And
you got to have the salmon colored shirt, and the khakis.
The khakis, the orange reflector wallet.
Yep, and then you got to have the eyeball that sticks out, and yeah,
and then talk like him. Yeah, you don't need to put makeup on your face to be here.
The other thing about blackface is, I think people also forget about the history behind it. At one point in time, they would not let black actors play black roles, so they put on blackface. And then they also made black actors put on blackface to make themselves look even darker. So that in of itself, that history behind it is like, why would you do it? It's nothing that we cherish, it's nothing that should have been done in the first place. So why would you now do it 30, 40 years later when you're supposedly woke and you know better now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And minstrel shows as well.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing with it. I could tell you guys a story, but I won't. But here's my thing with it. Two things. One, it's offensive. Just like I think we've talked about blackfishing on here. Maybe we haven't. But it's the same sort of thing of like, it is offensive to us for you to partake in our culture, even if you're mocking it, so to speak, without partaking in our pain, which you can't. That just is the way it is. And the second part of it is, as like, this gets into like a Ta-Nehisi Coates thing, but because we're asking you not to do it, and that's it. Black people don't want you in blackface.
Right?
That's it. That
should be enough.
Right. There's nothing else to really talk about. But, for a lot of people, that's not enough.
Because we said so. Just like when, right? You wanted to know why your parents said, because they said so. So just like you just said, because we asked you not to do it. If you're not going to really try to understand our reason why and why it's wrong, then just don't do it. It's so simple. Just like if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Take it all back to preschool rules. If you don't, you know what I'm saying? Just, it's so simple. And you're making it much more difficult by asking questions and wanting to do it anyway, because then it's like you're just spitting in our faces.
Yeah, and what is the appeal of it? Why does that sound like something you would want to do? Like, I'm genuinely interested about that. If anyone who's listening to this can give me a valid reason for blackface, I really fucking want to hear it.
Because deep down want to be us.
Right. But it's still so prevalent. It's 2021, and there are still people who think that this is okay, and I genuinely do not get it.
Yeah, I think that there are some folks who just. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Years ago with Charles Barkley, just because he thought it would make the character of him playing Charles Barkley more believable and more funny. And when are we going to learn? If we already said that it was wrong back in the 60s and 70s, but why is it now okay to do it in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020?
I honestly think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of white people who are just so fucking clueless that they don't see. They just don't see it as they don't pay attention to black folks, and are just absolutely ignorant. I mean, that's what it is. It's they're patently
it's intentional ignorance.
Patently ignorant. Well, yeah, it's intentional.
You can't live in this world anymore with those thoughts and not realize that they're probably not what everybody thinks is okay.
Yeah. You just go on in your little perfect world, or that world that you're trying to act as perfect. That's so much easier than putting out any effort in trying to understand and care about another human being. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and it's definitely willful ignorance. I mean, even if they're just being completely ignorant of black folks in general, that they don't know that this is a thing, but they're obviously not ignorant enough to know that there are black people that look a certain way and that they want to dress like them. So they purposely just stay out of those spaces and don't learn and choose to be, willfully obtuse.
And this isn't the 70s and 80s anymore, where you take the man that's obviously not Indian, but you have him play Native American, and that was
Eddie Kingsley.
Yeah.
Gandhi.
And then,
Gandhi.
yeah, exactly.
Like the guy, the guy that was the Clean Up America, the guy that
that's
was
exactly what I'm talking about. That guy,
and he was actually Italian.
Oh yeah, yes,
the Native, the single tier guy.
Yes, exactly. You read my mind. That's exactly it. But yeah, so it just because it was done before and it was acceptable, even though it wasn't fully acceptable, it was acceptable to those who ran Hollywood, and those who made Halloween costumes and whatever else. It's not a joke. It's not funny. You can be Beyonce and Jay-Z without going and buying the darkest freaking shade of foundation that you can and slathering all over your face.
Yep.
Get a crazy looking wig, put on a freaking shiny sequin dress, have your man look like Joe Camel, and there you go. You are Beyonce.
You're not wrong. Yeah. You are not wrong.
That's what I'm saying. We were Sons of Anarchy. I mean, people were taking pictures with us as if we were literally characters from Sons of Anarchy. And I'm like, okay, you guys know that they wouldn't put black people in the like, based on the show, but we didn't decide to go, you know what, babe, put on some pancake batter,
right?
And let's go ahead. So message came across.
Well, I did like it when Dave Chappelle did that with when they did the draft.
Oh yeah, and the trading spouses too, didn't he? Like, wasn't there like a trading spouses skit that he did that he also?
I remember that.
But
I totally believe you. It's been
then
Martin,
jumping back to the 80s with Eddie Murphy in Saturday Night Live when he was going to pretend to be a white person for a day to see how it was, and he went and got a loan, and they just kind of gave him all this money. And so,
here you go. He didn't even sit down. I didn't want a loan, but here, please take it. Please take it. Yeah, no. Or I was saying, like Martin, when Martin played Gina's coworker, when he went into different characters, that there was no malice. Like it was that was definitely needed because he was playing another character.
He wasn't playing. He was playing a white character that wasn't based on something, and it was because he played like 20 different characters in that show.
So many, so good. Yeah.
I want to say, there were a few things that Eddie Murphy did that too.
Well, I mean, Coming to America.
Who else?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. I'm like,
I played the old Jewish guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew there was one, and I was trying to remember what it was.
Aha!
Yeah,
Like the best ever.
And
So,
people always bring up white chicks in this conversation as well. What about white chicks? But here's the thing. It's like that episode we talked about on this podcast when the nigga moment happens and the guy goes, wait, but I'm white. At the end of the day, you know, when all is said and done, we are still Black people. We are still oppressed in this country. And that is why it is offensive for you to kind of cross these lines with us, given the history, given the reality of oppression. At the end of the day, you take that off. And oh my God, I'm white. And we are still dealing with a lot of the fallout that we're dealing with.
Let's look at the LGBTQ. And I heard that there's another letter the other day, like
I call it a quilt bag because it's queer. Now I got to try to remember all of it. So
intersex,
queer, intersex,
that's what the idea. Okay.
Lesbian, trans, bi, ace, and gay. Quilt bag.
Thank you, that part. But years ago, look at the character Lamar from Nerds. Look at, you know what I'm saying, how it was okay for you to be like super flamboyant, and that is exactly how they saw gay men. Well, now, and unfortunately, I think it's because as a community, they're definitely, I want to say, above the Black community on the totem pole of life in society here. We got to be very honest. They passed us. Like they had their movement and passed, which is fantastic. Not bitter, you know, no harm, no foul. But now it's not okay. Like you have to do it if you are going to play, you know, a character. I mean, the TV show Prom that was on Netflix, like there was a lot of backlash there because of how some of the characters played, you know, the gay characters. And so now it's like, it's not okay because like you just said, Lindsay, like they're not oppressed anymore. I mean, they are still in a way, let me not say that, but not in a way that we are still dealing with so many years of abuse and disenfranchisement and things like that. So it's...
Well, and it goes back and forth too. Like if you're talking about the queer community, there always is something that's there's always somebody, because the same people that hate queer people are generally the same people who hate Black people and people of color.
Yes.
So it's just a degree of hate. Like, that one's a good gay, so he's okay. That one's a good Black guy, so he's okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If the media is pro Black women this week, everybody's gonna love Black women. If the media is pro queer Asian ninjas, it's going to be queer Asian ninjas that are like, you know, like seriously, that
those
are like
Asian ninjas. Let me tell you, they are just.
But it's like the reality is, if media, quote unquote media, as a big general like umbrella thing, treats people like people, they tend to have a better life out in the world, because the people who pay attention to that shit and like, who beat up elderly Asian people because, Trump said that COVID came from China, from a lab. From China.
The way he said it, like it was just like, oh, I want you to know I don't like it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's sad, because once again, people do your own work, find your own information, find your own truth. And come on, common sense is not common to everybody, but most
you would
have
think,
it. So use that as your barometer. Start there at what makes sense,
This would kick up a whole other conversation that we probably don't have time for right now. But I really don't like when people, like, I totally agree with you. Like, they glomp onto these media movements, like Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I'm going to change my profile picture and I'm going to put this in my Twitter tag and all this shit. I cannot tell you how many people I've been around who are pro women's rights, pro Me Too movement, pro Black Lives Matter. They're LGBTQIA allies and this and that, who sit around and just say transphobic shit. They still say racist shit. Like, even if it's on a level, or like, they have an indifference. Like, if you're telling them what you're going through, they have an indifference to it. They really don't give a fuck. They're just like, social media warriors, and they want to be down for the movement. But honest, they don't give a fuck. They really
social media.
They want to look like they're a part of the movement. They don't actually want to do anything to change anything, because they wouldn't benefit from it.
Yep.
They
That's
benefit
so sad
from
to be a
looking like
grown
they're
ass
helping.
person and be a follower.
Yep.
Because that is what it boils down to. Like, you are being a follower. And how are you not an adult that has the wherewithal to be able to make your own decisions? You know, it's... Yeah.
I think, unless I'm wrong, I think that's about everything we want to cover. Is there any final thoughts that anyone wants to put out? Well, remember, we are on Patreon. If you want to hear the whole version of this episode, which is probably going to be about 2 hours long or so, you're probably getting about an hour and 20 minutes if you are not a Patreon member. Generally, that's what we're going for anyway. But our Patreon members get early access to full episodes. They have the opportunity to win merch from us once we get that going. What else are we doing? We're TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and all of the things. Instagram.
I'm horrible at the Facebook thing though.
Well, because you're not 79.
I need to get you guys doing some TikToks for Boondocks stuff. I mean, like lip sync stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to do like the hooker that Granddad swore wasn't a hooker, like some lines or something from her. That'd be fire.
Hell yeah.
If anybody out there has something that y'all want one of the queens to do together on the TikTok that's legal. That's legal.
You gotta lift that open there.
Things that TikTok will allow.
We have the right to say no fucking way. We also have the right to say, can I make this dirty?
Anything from the Boondocks that we can do.
Right.
And
well, you
that apparently doesn't.
You may be a Boondocks on like Pornhub or something that they'll go ahead and throw that.
It apparently doesn't have the N word in it because I that one headliner clip that I posted it on Facebook, I posted it on Twitter and Instagram. Lindsay said the N word, and it also had closed captioning in there. So TikTok caught it and muted it. And then, so I said, okay, fine, I know what you're doing. So I took it down and I put a whoop sound over that, and then I posted it, and it was up for a couple of hours, and then they took it down again because it had the word typed in it in the closed captioning. So I put a little sticker over that.
Oh, okay. So I will send them to you.
Yes.
He
knows how to do the stuff.
Oh yeah, I can edit.
I edited like the editor of 50 Shades of Grey. I didn't. So, okay, perfect. So that's good because I'm getting one sent every week. So every time we post a new episode, they'll send that, and then I can pick 10 minutes out of it.
Oh yeah,
and then make the video one out.
That's what I do. Because I do our headliner, but I only do like a minute long because I want to use the same headliner across everything, and usually a minute. Like I think it's Instagram, you can only do up to a minute. So or Twitter, and TikTok as well. So I have a minute. If I can find a minute long clip, boom.
Well, the good thing about headliner is that you can do one that's shorter to post on. Sorry, it's okay. Totally shine this in my eye. To post, depending on, if it's for YouTube or whatever else, then they'll give you the option to make it longer. If it's for one of the other platforms, then they'll give you just the audiogram, which is shorter. So cool. But we could talk about that offline, I guess.
Cool.
Hear about that.
We will see everybody next week.
See ya.
Hey, don't take this the wrong way, but I need you to get the hell up out of here.
Joining us again as we make our way through the trials and tribulations of a Freeman family. We hope to see you back again next time for Attack of the Killer Kung Fu Wolf.
Want to know where to find us on the social medias or where to subscribe to the podcast? Just head right over to www.theboondockspod.com/links.
Have a stupid white people question you want to leave us? Email us at host@theboondockspod.com or leave us a voicemail at 760-933-8636. That's 760-we-3-undo.
Shout out to the artists who've created our intro and outro tunes. Our intro is #MakeAChange by KIRK. You can find them on Spotify, iTunes, and Tidal. Our outro is Good Times by Audio Binger. You can find them on freemusicarchive.org and YouTube.
Bye.